Risky behavior.
The views and opinions expressed on this channel are solely those of the host and guest and are intended for entertainment and discussion purposes only. This channel does not promote bias, hatred, or discrimination of any kind. All questions posed and thoughts shared are part of a critical thinking exercise and are not meant to offend or judge any individual or group. We encourage respectful dialogue and love for all. Please remember to think critically and engage thoughtfully. We aim to foster a positive and inclusive community where everyone feels welcome. Thank you for being a part of Risky Behavior ENT.
Risky behavior.
Yo, what's up? How y'all doing? Welcome back. This is Risky Behavior ENT. I am your humble host, Mr. Diabolical himself. Today we're going to be talking about the whole Charlie Kirk situation. Today's title is Charlie Kirk, A Voice, a Tragedy, a Lesson. Okay. Now, I apologize to my subscribers. My bad. I got the listening to the volume thing in my ear and it was too loud. I want to apologize to my subscribers. I am approaching this story a little late. It's just that I hate to be in the beginning, man. Oh my God. When this thing first started, like this is just an example, right? Like they caught the shooter, but people were online arguing. I mean, getting downright dirty fighting because they was like, oh, it was a middle-aged old white guy. Or what somebody say before? Oh, it was a trans person. And then they argue, was it a trans woman or a trans man? Right. So that ain't my style. I kind of like to wait till I get to more information. Right. So if you look on the screen, you see a picture of Charlie Kirk, and he's with his family. Now, before I continue, I do want to say that I appreciate all those who are subscribed, that support the channel, that thumbs up, share, get in the comment section, had a conversation. And I started doing this because when you're somebody that's a little different from everybody else, it's easy to feel like an outsider and you begin to be drowned in everybody else's voice when you're in their space. And so I'm like, hey, you know what? Let me create my own space. And that way, even if only 10 people hear me, somebody heard me versus 0 people heard me. And anybody that creates content, and even if you ain't a content creator, you've been on Twitter, you've been on Instagram, Threads, you've been on Facebook, and you done said something, and then somebody threatened you, and you like, what the fuck? You gonna kill me because of what I said? And so I think in a way we know that no one should ever be hurt because of what they say. And I just want people to remember that today it could be somebody you don't like, and tomorrow it could be somebody you love. That's the same thing. Just being black, when you think about somebody like a Dr. Martin Luther King, or when you think about a Malcolm X, those people were taken out by people that didn't agree with them, that didn't like them. But then you have the rest of us that did like them, that did love them. And so for the people that do support Charlie Kirk and his message, they're experiencing that, So I just want to start off by saying that. I do want to start off with some background beginning information on Charlie Kirk, and then we'll get into what happened and where we are right now. And also I do want to talk about the whole black versus white aspect that has come out because of everything that has happened, which is it's crazy to me. Now this whole situation got black people and white people fighting all over again. And it was crazy to me because I know that at least 90% of black people didn't even know who Charlie Kirk was, or Turning Point USA. So anywho, let's go ahead and get into this. Now it says here that Charlie James Kirk was born on October the 14th, 1993. So I mean, this is crazy. He had a birthday coming up, man. In the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois, he attended Wheeling High School. This is where he first showed signs of political curiosity. His family was middle class. His father worked as an architect. He was accepted to Baylor University, but chose not to attend. Instead, he decided to dive headfirst into political activism. Now, his early exposure to conservative ideas came through volunteering for political campaigns. A pivotal moment came when he spoke at the Republican National Convention in 2016, gaining national attention as a young, articulate voice for conservative youth. So I guess that's why he's so well spoken. Um, even if you don't like him, I mean, when it came to that mic and speaking, he was good at it. And probably because he started very, very early. He founded Turning Point USA when he was just 18 years old in 2012. It's a nonprofit aimed at promoting conservative values on college campuses. The organization grew quickly, establishing chapters nationwide and hosting events that drew thousands. Turning Point USA became known for its viral Prove Me Wrong debates, where Kirk would challenge students on hot button issues like gun control, immigration, and gender identity. Yeah, man, one thing about them, it's almost like I don't know if anybody grew up old school, but those are like the topics that they tell you to stay away from when everybody's eating dinner at the dinner table. When I was growing up, it was like, man, you cannot discuss politics. And that just goes to show you the history of conversations being shut down, that when you was when you was growing up, man, you couldn't discuss religion or politics at the dinner table. So that just shows you this what he was doing, like how um what's the word I'm looking for? It was just brazen. It goes against everything that a lot of us older people grew up learning what was proper to talk about in public, you know. Now it says Kirk's charisma and confrontational style made him a fixture on conservative media. He launched the Charlie Kirk Show, a podcast and radio program that further amplified his reach. He also became a close ally of President Donald Trump, often appearing at rallies and advising on youth engagement strategies. Now, Kirk's campus appearances were often polarizing. Supporters saw him as a champion of free speech and traditional values, while critics accused him of spreading misinformation and inflammatory rhetoric. These events were frequently met with protests, but Kirk leaned into the tension, framing it as proof of ideological suppression. Despite the backlash, his influence grew. He was instrumental in mobilizing young voters during the 2024 presidential election and continued to host Turning Point USA's America Fest and Student Action Summits. Now let's get into the tragic day, which happened on September the 10th in 2025. It says here on September the 10th, 2025, Kirk was speaking at Utah Valley University as part of his American Comeback Tour. The event drew over 3,000 attendees, including students, families, and protesters. During a Q&A session, Kirk was struck by a single bullet fired from a rooftop approximately 200 yards away. He was rushed to, and forgive me if I pronounced this wrong, Timpanogos Regional Hospital, but was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. And I have a video for that.
This right now, but we do have some breaking news coming into our newsroom right now. Charlie Kirk has passed away as a result of the shooting incident that occurred this afternoon in Utah Valley University. That is where he was speaking, part of his Prove Me Wrong series. He'd taken the stage. He'd only been on stage for about 20 minutes doing a Q&A with the audience members there. And that is when there was a single gunshot. That gunshot hit him in the neck. They rushed him to the hospital, and we were told for a while he was in critical condition. Obviously, they were doing their best to save his life. And as a result of the way he was hit and where he was hit, we're getting word now that he has. This is a live picture right now. This is Orem, Utah Valley University. It was a big turnout. 300, 500 people had shown up to hear him speak and be a part of this event. We should also tell you that we were reporting that a suspect had been taken into custody, and we'd shown an image of an alleged suspect who police believed was the shooting suspect. We can now tell you that image of that individual is not the shooting suspect. We don't have any other information at this time regarding that. But 31 years old, Charlie Kirk, a husband, a father, a big time following. Whether you agreed with him or did not agree with him, he had a huge following. He always wanted to engage in different topics and really just encourage dialogue as a way to put aside differences or to argue differences or what have you. The host of the Charlie Kirk Show, the co-founder of Turning Point USA, ran a podcast as well. And this is Charlie Kirk, has passed away in Orem, Utah. We are going to continue to stay with this image right now. This is the university. There was a big event. It was from 9 in the morning until 4 o'clock, and Charlie Kirk had taken the stage about noon. The witnesses who were there talk about how he was answering questions. One of the questions that was asked had to do with religion. He answered that question. The second question, which was asked, had to do with mass shootings, linking that to gun violence and transgender community, something to that nature. And as he began to answer that question, he had just said a couple of words. That is when witnesses say there was a single shot fired, went straight into his neck. He slumped over, he fell over. They rushed to get him to the hospital to try to save his life. All the people that were there, incredibly shocked and scared, ducked. There's lots of video floating around right now because everyone was filming. So you have images from many perspectives and angles going around. We do have some witness sound right now. So let's, why don't we get to that right now? Let's see. Okay, we are gonna work on that. Obviously, reaction right now, the pure shock of it all. The witnesses we have been hearing from, they're very shaken, visibly, understandably, literally as they speak. The panic that ensued, 500 people just took off and ran because they didn't know where the shots were being fired. If
You know, I know that they were shocked. I mean, even just watching the video was shocking. I'm surprised that video was able to be sent around. I don't know if different platforms are trying to get the video taken down. I'm surprised some of the places I saw it, like I heard it was on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook, so maybe stuff like that does be on Facebook, all the time. I'm not sure, but I think I saw it on like Instagram. And I think somebody said it was on TikTok. And that was shocking to me that it would be on TikTok because I did a review of a rapper who made a video inside of Target, and he had these girls twerking in grocery carts. And I made a video talking about it. And I said, man, why are you doing this hot ghetto mess? Of all places, Target. Like, why are you doing this? So I of course showed a snippet of it. TikTok took it down. Talking about, oh, this is inappropriate, but you showing somebody dying on TikTok, it's crazy to me. The only thing I can assume is maybe certain platforms are allowing the videos to go around a little bit just to, I don't know, to bring awareness to it. It's kind of like when Emmett Till mom allowed them to put her son's picture in the newspaper because she wanted people to see, like, this is what somebody did to my son, and to move people to say, hey, things need to change. So maybe that's why the video is allowed to be out there. But I know for any parent, you know, your kid goes to an event and they watch somebody be assassinated. Has to be a horrible feeling. Horrible feeling, man. And even as young people, how do they even process something like that? It's just crazy to me. It's just terrible. And I think anybody would have to admit that, even if you don't like the person, even it's just crazy. You know what? I had a boss one time and I hated this dude. I thought this dude was an asshole. But I knew he had a family and I knew he had children. And I remember he got fired. And I even felt bad for him. I was like, damn, it's crazy. I remember people was like, oh, but you don't like him. I was like, yeah, but you don't want to see nobody not be able to take care of their family, though. I'm not a horrible person. You know what I mean? So
there would be more shooting. Everyone felt as though their life was in danger. So everyone took off. But like, as I mentioned, there's so much footage out there, and this is definitely going to be, of course, part of the investigation, especially now that we're hearing that the alleged shooter, the individual they thought was responsible for this, we're told ended up not being the suspect. So this is going to raise a lot more questions. The investigation is just going to get underway. But the big news, the big story, this moment right here, as we froze that image, that is the moment right here where someone's asking the question. A couple seconds later, he picked up that mic to answer, and that is when he was hit. Charlie Kirk passed away just a short time ago at the age of 31. It's just really a sad day, a sad day where people have come together to listen to someone speak. It was a safe environment. There was some talk about whether or not there was security present on the campus there, and there wasn't really much security, and they talk about how, it's a college campus, everyone felt safe. It wasn't supposed to be anything out of the ordinary. They do these types of events often. He goes around speaking to large audiences. This is a college campus. Majority of the people attending were college students, and then of course the locals there. So there wasn't really a heavy police presence, some security around, but nothing that, nothing out of the ordinary. So,
they say he did have security, but here's the thing, he's not an actual political, like he's not like a government official or something, like the mayor, like governor or president or somebody was, coming there. And plus, he goes around and he debates. He has his show, he has his controversial remarks, but for the most part, he's going to a college campus. I don't think anybody would. Who would think somebody would do that? right? Even what was his name? What's his name? Ruben or somebody? What's that other dude that used to do those segments? Prove Me Wrong. Oh my God, what's his name? I remember he people kind of started turning on him when he went through a divorce with his wife, and videos of him yelling at his wife and stuff came out and stuff. So, you know, people act like they didn't want to support him anymore. But he used to go around having, I mean, he used to say some controversial things too. And he did that for many years. A lot of these guys do these prove me wrong segments and stuff for their YouTube channel. And they, you know, sometimes they're at college campuses. Sometimes they're set up on a public street. And I mean, honestly, I don't think, look, most people are not that bad. People will yell at you, cuss you out, and stuff like that. But nobody would think that somebody would just do that, just to be sitting there and then somebody just shoot you in the throat. I don't think anybody would see that coming. You know, people talk about security. He has security, but he would not have security to the point where he's checking rooftops. Like, who would think that? Like that? I think they're going to think about things like that now. Maybe now they won't allow them to be outside. Maybe you will have to be hosting these debates in a enclosed setting, you know, where the type of security that they have can be effective. And so you don't have to worry about, you know, and then I assume now they might, you know, and in a setting like that, you can do things like searching, you know, as people walk into the building to prevent people from bringing weapons and stuff like that. But yeah, they wouldn't have thought somebody be laying on the roof trying to do that to him.
We don't know if that would have made a difference. He was kind of an open target there, sitting there in front of that large audience under that tarp. He was accessible. People could approach him if they wished. But there you have it. 31 years old, Charlie Kirk passed away. A father of two young children, a boy and a girl. I believe his son just turned 1 a few months ago. So he leaves behind his family. He leaves behind his father. He leaves behind a huge community of followers. And really, he'd done a lot of work to bring the youth into the conversation and really get them engaged in things that matter, things that people should think about when they vote, just talking about life and what role politics should play and whether or not you agreed with him or not. One of the things he was known for was the fact that he would engage in dialogue with people he didn't necessarily agree with. And that was kind of his thing, where he was able to just say, hey, we may not agree, but let's have a conversation. In fact, that is when Governor Gavin Newsom in March was a guest on his podcast, and it was widely viewed because it was interesting to hear from two people who may not agree on many topics coming together and discussing this. So his voice is now silenced. We do have that witness sound, so let's go to that now.
And we had a huge, nice conversation back and forth. We disagreed, of course, and then we kind of just ended it at that with the historical evidences. He tried to hold to the Bible a lot more in regards to archaeological evidences, which is not really what I was asking. But after I got done talking to him, I really couldn't exit because there's such a big crowd. So I turned around, and like 10 to 20 seconds later, after I got done talking to Charlie, I saw that he was shot in the neck and that he was squirting blood everywhere. But I was piecing things together, and it was really weird because the second guest that I talked to, before I went and asked him the question, what I was going to ask him, he was talking to him about how he was going to ask about transgenderism or something like that, but nothing about shootings. And this is the irony that came to me, which was like, right when he asked that, not like 5-10 seconds later, he was shot. And not only that, right after that, someone confessed to it who had no weapon, which makes me think that it was clearly a setup and that multiple people were involved. So, but prior to that, that's all I saw because everyone was squirming.
All Right, you're hearing from a witness speak. There's so many witnesses. This was a huge event. So many people were there to hear Charlie Kirk speak. So what we can tell you right now is that Charlie Kirk has passed away. He passed away in the hospital. They did their best to save his life, but they were unable to do so. The image you just saw was seconds before he was shot, a single shot to the neck, and this resulted in his death ultimately. The individual they had taken into custody was determined not to be the suspect. This right here is a live image actually of the campus there, Utah Valley University. Heavy police presence, as you can see. So the suspect is at large at this point, from what we understand. There was a commotion. They thought they had the individual, and that was not the individual in question. So this is going to be very much an active scene, dealing with the investigation, also dealing with the shock of what has happened. 31 years old, Charlie Kirk has passed away. A father, a husband, leaves behind a family. And his voice was silenced today on September 10th. Much more to come. Stay with us. The story we're continuing to follow. More to come at 5 o'clock this evening. And with that, we will rejoin programming.
Yeah, man. Tragedy, 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 tragedy. Whether you agree with somebody or not. Plus, to me, it's just not the way. I was really, because look, I didn't agree. A lot of his points I did not agree with, but man, oh man, do I love a good debate. I am toxic like that. I love when people do not agree with me, and I love when people got different points of views like me. Like, I swear to you, I don't watch no cable. People be talking about these TV shows and shit all on the TV. It sucks to me. I love watching political debates. I love watching people discuss controversial topics, man. And so I love watching these guys, even though I didn't agree with them, because I know the day is going to come that somebody going to come up there and they're going to just straight destroy them in the debate, man. Because a lot of times I don't know if I'm the only person that does this, but sometimes you'll watch people debating, and the person whose side you're on, you're like, come on, man. All you had to do was say this, say that. You know what I mean? And also, I think it's a way, like, for me personally, and I might be different from other people, it's a way that I learn as well, because it's things that I might hear Charlie Kirk say that I disagree with. And I might research it and go, I hate to say it, but he right. But there's things I research and I'm like, he was wrong. And I might never get to speak or debate him, but in the spaces that I go into, there's people who believe like he believe, and I'll use what I learned against them in the debate, and I'll usually win. You know what I'm saying? So but this is definitely not the way. When things like this happen, to me, it just breeds hate. You know, I get it, you know, like somebody, whatever. But doing things this way, it just breeds hate. And honestly, it just proves the other side right. Right? Because like the lady said, if you are attempting to silence my voice, it's just like, why? Why you want me to be quiet? Why you want me to shut up? You know, whatever you were trying to prove, you didn't prove it. Whatever you were trying to stop, you didn't stop it. You just added fuel to the fire. And you don't, that's why they say you don't fight fire with fire. You don't do that.
Risky behavior.
The views and opinions expressed on this channel are solely those of the host and guest and are intended for entertainment and discussion purposes only. This channel does not promote bias, hatred, or discrimination of any kind. All questions posed and thoughts shared are part of a critical thinking exercise and are not meant to offend or judge any individual or group. We encourage respectful dialogue and love for all. Please remember to think critically and engage thoughtfully. We aim to foster a positive and inclusive community where everyone feels welcome. Thank you for being a part of Risky Behavior ENT.
Risky behavior.
Now, this news sent shockwaves through the political world. President Trump posted, "The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead," and ordered flags at half staff. Erica Kirk, Charlie's widow, made a powerful statement. "They killed Charlie because he preached a message of patriotism, faith, and of God's love." Her emotional remarks are captured in Charlie Kirk's widow speaks publicly for the first time since his death. Vigils were held across the country, including one in West Palm Beach, attended by hundreds. Turning Point USA vowed to continue its mission, with Erica Kirk stepping into a leadership role. Here we have an article from CNN. Charlie Kirk's widow speaks publicly for the first time since his death. Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk, made her first public statement since her husband was shot and killed. Charlie Kirk was a conservative activist and founder of Turning Point USA, an organization Erica Kirk said would continue her husband's movement. Okay. And this video is acting crazy, and that is all good because I actually found a news report on it, so I'm going ahead and pull that up. Here we go.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Vara. Carolyn is off tonight, and we begin with these new developments in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Police identified the shooting suspect as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. NBC4's Darsha Phillips in our newsroom now with the latest, including the new message from Kirk's widow and new audio of the 911 calls moments after that deadly shooting. Darsha.
Well, Kathy, hundreds of students were gathered at Utah Valley University when that shot rang out, and it caused sheer panic. Many students ran for cover. Some desperately called 911. NBC News obtained the audio of some of those calls, so many struggling to communicate what they had just seen and experienced.
There's been a shooting at UVU, Charlie Kirk event, UVU courtyard.
The Kirk speaker at UVU just got shot in the head.
What's the address?
UVU.
And what happened?
He's a speaker, famous guy, Speaker Kirk.
911 operators tried to get as much information from callers about what happened and where Charlie Kirk was. He had been taken away by a team of people.
He got rushed off in an SUV, a black SUV.
Okay, did you see did you see it happen?
Yes, I saw everything.
Operators also wanted to know where the shooter was.
Do you know where the person that shot him is? No.
After a 33-hour manhunt, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson was arrested for the shooting death of Kirk. Utah Governor Spencer Cox said that a family friend reached out to a sheriff's office Thursday night and said he had confessed or implied he was responsible for killing Kirk. Robinson is a college student and has no known criminal past. A high-powered bolt-action rifle was discovered near the Utah Valley campus after the shooting, along with bullet casings with anti-fascist inscriptions. Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica, did not address the shooter personally when she spoke publicly for the first time since her husband's death, but she did have a message.
If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea.
Earlier Friday, she flew back to Arizona with her husband's body on Air Force Two alongside Vice President J.D. Vance. She was seen waving to a crowd of supporters who gathered at a memorial for her husband. Erica Kirk spoke from the Turning Point USA headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona, where her husband recorded his podcast. She spoke about how much he loved his life and his family, and she also vowed that her husband's podcast and his legacy will go on.
To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die.
Charlie Kirk was on the America Comeback Tour when he was assassinated. Erica Kirk says the tour will continue. Live in the newsroom tonight, I'm Darcia Phillips.
Oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. And she's the wife is correct. All that person did was just like, you made his movement even bigger if it was your attempt to try and stop it. What you did not work. This is all right. So now we're gonna get into the investigation. Let me share my screen again. Okay. Now, authorities launched a massive manhunt. Surveillance footage showed a man in black tactical gear fleeing the rooftop. The FBI released images and offered a $100,000 reward. Initial suspects were detained but later released. The investigation intensified with forensic analysis of bullet casings, which bore messages like, "Hey, fascist, catch," and "Bella Ciao," referencing anti-fascist resistance. The shooter's identity remained unknown for over 33 hours. Let's go.
You are watching the National News Desk, America's News Now. I'm Jan Jeffcoat, and right now, a desperate manhunt underway in Utah to find the suspect in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. A news conference just wrapped up in Utah. We want to get right to Mark Boyle at the live desk. You know, Mark, I was taking some notes here as we listened to that news conference. The FBI had some pretty big revelations, some new information about the suspect. A couple of things that stood out to me. We know the shooter came onto campus just before noon, and investigators were able to track his movements where he jumped off a building and ran into, and I say he, they didn't say if it was a he or she, right. The suspect ran into a nearby neighborhood. So they canvassed that neighborhood going door to door. But one thing I thought was interesting, Mark, was that they said they had a clear picture of that suspect, but they were not going to release it, which makes you wonder if they're close to closing in on a person. What else have you learned?
Well, clearly they don't want to tip off everyone just yet. They have these images. If it's not from the closed circuit TV on campus, it will be from those Ring cameras, as you talk about in the neighborhoods, Jan, because he went through a neighborhood and everyone has those cameras now. The newest information from the FBI news conference is that they have those pictures. They know who the suspect is. They have not made them public yet. If you missed the briefing, here's part of what the FBI just gave.
That's what makes it so crazy with all this technology now. You really can't just sneak off. I mean, there's a camera on you. I mean, as you walk down the street, everybody's Ring cameras catching you. You walk past the store, that camera catches you. That's one of the benefits of technology. I mean, the person that invented Ring cameras, I don't think they could have ever, like, in the future, see like how much crime, how much help it would be to solving crimes, just the invention of Ring doorbell cameras.
In terms of the update,
the suspect blended in well with a college institution. We're not releasing any details right now, and we will soon, but right now we're not. But that individual appears to be of college age.
So that's new as well, believed to be of college age. Here's the latest information on your screen. This was just put together. So they have the high-powered bolt-action rifle recovered. That's the direct verbiage from the AP. So they found the gun. The Ring camera shows the suspect in the neighborhood. That will be key. 11:52 a.m., walked up the staircase and then onto the roof. So we now have that confirmed that, in fact, the shooter was on the roof. After the shooting, they say he jumped off and then ran to nearby neighborhoods. This all happened at the Utah Valley University there in Orem, Utah. That's where Charlie Kirk had been speaking at a campus event attended by maybe 1,500 to 2,000 people is the estimate right now. As he was speaking, that shooter, one shot came out from the roof and hit Charlie in the neck. We're going to show you some of that video right now, warning you it is disturbing to watch.
Counting or not counting game violence?
Oh my God. And then take a look at this video here. This is of Charlie's security team. They were holding him there. 6 or so men walked him, ran him to that SUV. That was his personal SUV, and rushed him to a nearby hospital. He died a short time later. The governor of Utah came out immediately talking about vowing to get to the bottom of this tragic event. Charlie Kirk was a conservative activist. He brought in a large portion of the younger generation into the party. I want to show you a clip now, let you listen. This was from the 2024 Republican National Convention.
To all the Gen Zers watching this convention on TikTok right now, I have a message just for you. You don't have to stay poor. You don't have to accept being worse off than your parents. You don't have to feel aimless and unhappy. You don't have to support leaders who lied to you and took advantage of you for your vote. America's future is a series of choices. Our current state of slow motion national decline is a choice. This November, we're going to choose success. We're going to choose to put the future of Americans first.
President Trump did order all flags be flown at half-staff until Sunday in his honor. We're following this breaking news as new information comes in this morning on the manhunt for the suspect.
Okay, now let's get into the let's go ahead and jump it over into the suspect. Now, the arrest of Tyler Robinson on September the 12th, 2025, Utah Governor Spencer Cox announced the arrest of 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. A family member had contacted a friend who then informed law enforcement that Robinson had confessed or implied involvement. Robinson was apprehended in Washington County, Utah. He was charged with aggravated murder, obstruction of justice, and felony discharge of a firearm. Share my screen. There we go.
Now at 9:30, we are following breaking news. President Trump says the suspect in Charlie Kirk's assassination is in custody. President Trump made that announcement on Fox News just about 90 minutes ago. Overnight, the FBI released new photos and video of the alleged gunman. He was seen jumping off the roof of a building at Utah Valley University after Kirk was killed Wednesday afternoon. Authorities say they recovered a rifle from the area where he fled. Here's what President Trump said earlier today.
I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody. Okay? In custody. Everyone did a great job. So much work has been done over the last 2.5 days. You know, it's amazing, actually, when you start off with that and then all of a sudden you get lucky or talent or whatever it is. But yeah, I think we're in great shape.
Utah Governor Spencer Cox says the state is prepared to seek the death penalty. Though he wasn't an elected official, Charlie Kirk held a powerful place in the conservative movement by rallying young Republicans. His death is just the latest in a surge of political violence directed at people from both political parties. CBS's Jared Hill has more on the political reaction.
Well, Charlie, you didn't deserve it. May God bless your family.
On Air Force Two, the casket of Charlie Kirk landed in his home of Phoenix, Arizona, with his friend, Vice President J.D. Vance. Earlier in the day, President Trump honored Kirk at the Pentagon.
Charlie was a giant of his generation, a champion of liberty, and an inspiration to millions and millions of people.
The murder of the 31-year-old conservative activist and influencer has directly impacted young conservatives. At the University of Texas at Austin, a vigil and reaction from students at Florida International University.
I think it was kind of a sense of hope, I guess. I feel like it was one of the people that actually asked for the younger generation's point of view on things.
Kirk's killing is the latest instance of political violence in America. There were 2 attempts on President Trump's life last year, the arson of the home of Pennsylvania's Democratic governor in April, and the murder of a Democratic state lawmaker and her spouse in Minnesota back in June. On Capitol Hill, calls to cool the temperature, echoing from some across the political spectrum.
We must learn to disagree without becoming violently disagreeable.
We don't think of our friends and neighbors and fellow countrymen and even political opponents as enemies.
As some members say they're canceling events.
We will not be doing any public events anytime soon until we have a better handle on greater security controls.
Lawmakers now on high alert. Jared Hill, CBS News.
With the arrest of Tyler James Robinson, the suspect in the killing of Charlie Kirk, we just got our hands on brand new court paperwork. We are talking potential charges. We are talking bail. We are talking now a new detailed timeline of events, and we're going to break it down for you in real time. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. All right, so we're doing something very different here on Sidebar. We are breaking down this legal paperwork we just got our hands on in real time. No prep. I'm literally looking at this right now. This is new paperwork that was just filed in connection with the arrest of Tyler James Robinson, the 22-year-old who is suspected of killing Charlie Kirk. Now, what do I have in my hands on? I have an affidavit of probable cause. I have an order from a judge denying him bail, and then a public safety assessment report. I'm going to break all of this down in real time. He hasn't been officially charged yet, but this is what he has been booked on. I want to bring on trial attorney Rich Schoenstein, who's going to break this down with me in real time. So we're both looking at this. Rich, good to see you. By the way,
good to see you.
Great background. Is that real or is that AI? I mean, it looks like a really
no. This is my real brother's real house in Columbus, Ohio.
It looks good. Looks good. Okay. So what I want to do first is go into this affidavit of probable cause, which led to his arrest. He is charged, and we'll break down these charges. He is going to be charged, or at least he's been booked right now, on aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, obstruction of justice, capital first-degree felony conduct. Before we go any further, Rich, so basically, this is what he could be charged with. This is what prosecutors could be seeking. It could be modified in some way, but at this point, this seems to fall in line with what the allegations are.
Right. I mean, basically, the charges here are murder, illegal discharge of a firearm in public where he did it, and obstruction of justice, which I think means flight. And as you say, there are other possible crimes that might or might not be added later.
And so let me read through this whole probable cause statement. And it says, I believe there is probable cause to charge the defendant with these charges. And I believe this is from an arresting officer, although I'll see at the end. Brian Davis, officer's name. This is in the county of Utah, state of Utah. Okay. I believe there is probable cause to charge the defendant with these charges because the following information was obtained by your affiant from police officers, multiple video recordings posted on social media websites, Utah Valley University campus surveillance cameras, and those who witnessed the incident. On September 10th, 2025, Charles James Kirk was at the Utah Valley University UVU campus in Orem, Utah for a political event. Mr. Kirk is a conservative political activist who was scheduled to speak in an event in the courtyard area on the UVU campus. The courtyard area is to the west of the Low C Center building. According to video recordings, Charles was wearing a white t-shirt and dark pants, sitting under a white canopy in a courtyard of the campus facing to the east. The event was attended by hundreds of individuals. Charles was surrounded by people with multiple individuals to his left, right, and rear in front of the canopy. Behind the canopy was a walkway used for access to various parts of the university. Charles was holding a microphone and speaking to a crowd. While speaking into the microphone, A loud gunshot was heard at approximately 12:23 hours, and Charles appeared to have been hit in the neck. Now, that's interesting because I kind of did a separate sidebar on this about there was speculation whether or not he was hit in the chest and it ricocheted into his neck, but here he says it's been hit in the neck. Blood was seen coming out of the left side of his neck as he fell over to his left. Charles was transported to Panagos Regional Hospital in Orem. Apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. Charles was pronounced deceased at the hospital. Investigators reviewed the Utah Valley University surveillance cameras. While reviewing the surveillance cameras, investigators observed an individual on the rooftop of the Losi Center building on the UVU campus at the time of the shooting. Hereafter, the unidentified individual will be referred to as suspect. Based on surveillance camera footage, suspect appears to be a white male with dark-colored hair, wearing a dark-colored hat, sunglasses, a long-sleeve black shirt with a picture of an American flag and an eagle printed on the shirt, dark-colored jeans, and white-gray shoes with white-colored shoelaces. The shoes appear to be consistent with Chuck Taylor Converse-style shoes. We've been following this story from the beginning. And, you know, one of the reasons that we can do this to really dive into these cases and stories is because of the amazing support that we get from our sponsors like Upside. Now, Upside is great. It is a free app that gets cash back when you buy daily essentials. So I pump my gas, I can use Upside.
Risky behavior.
The views and opinions expressed on this channel are solely those of the host and guest and are intended for entertainment and discussion purposes only. This channel does not promote bias, hatred, or discrimination of any kind. All questions posed and thoughts shared are part of a critical thinking exercise and are not meant to offend or judge any individual or group. We encourage respectful dialogue and love for all. Please remember to think critically and engage thoughtfully. We aim to foster a positive and inclusive community where everyone feels welcome. Thank you for being a part of Risky Behavior ENT.
Risky behavior.
Suspect is also carrying a dark-colored backpack on his back. Suspect walks with a distinctive gait. Prior to the shooting, suspect appears to walk with a stiff right leg and a relatively slow pace. Suspect's ability to bend his right leg appears to be restricted. Investigators were able to track suspect's movements on the UVU campus starting at approximately 11:50 hours on September 10th, 2025. At approximately 11:50 hours, a UVU surveillance camera first captured suspect walking across a grassy area north of Campus Drive at approximately 800 West. By the way, we knew that there were surveillance footage, but now we're really getting this in depth. A suspect walked south through the parking lot and approached a pedestrian tunnel that runs underneath Campus Drive. Before entering the tunnel, suspect paused at the top of the stairs and pulled out what appeared to be a cell phone from his right pocket using his right hand at approximately 11:53 hours. Suspect eventually put what appeared to be a cell phone back in his right pants pocket using his right hand. Surveillance captured suspect making his way toward the Losi Center. At approximately 12:02 hours, suspect was recorded walking on the north side of the Losi Center building, walking with the same gait as observed earlier. Suspect entered the Losi Center building through a set of doors on the southeast corner of the Losi Center building at approximately 12:15 hours. Yeah, let me just change it here. Suspect was observed walking up to the stairs that led to the common area adjacent to the Losi Center building. Suspect walked to a short concrete wall that separates the common area from the rooftop of the Losi Center building. At approximately 12:17 hours, suspect climbed over the short wall and appeared to crouch down on the north side of the wall on the rooftop. At approximately 12:22 hours, suspect stood up and started running across the rooftop of the Losi Center building. The notable limb from previous surveillance was absent. Suspect ran to the west side of the rooftop and appeared to scoot along the rooftop area as he got closer to the edge of the rooftop. At approximately 12:22 hours.
I wonder, was the limp gone? I think he might have hurt himself jumping down from the roof when they had that footage of him, like, you know, jumping down. I would assume he might have hurt his leg, unless he was that self-conscious and aware to say, well, I might be on video, let me change the way I walk, but that wouldn't make no sense because it's not like he had his face covered. So his limp might have been gone because he was feeling better after having maybe perhaps hurting himself jumping off that roof.
A suspect laid down in a position consistent with a prone shooting position near the edge of the rooftop and appeared to be facing west in the direction of the courtyard area. The rooftop of the Losi Center building overlooks the courtyard area where the event featuring Charlie Kirk was taking place. The Losi Center building is east of the courtyard area. At approximately 12:23 hours, Charlie Kirk was shot. At approximately 12:23 hours, surveillance shows that suspect stood up suddenly from the edge of the rooftop and sprinted north on the rooftop of the Losi Center building. Suspect ran to the northeast corner of the building and approached the edge of the rooftop. Suspect placed a dark-colored item on the rooftop and proceeded to lower himself off the rooftop. Suspect dropped off the rooftop onto the grass below. Suspect ran north near the parking lot to the east of the Losi Center. At approximately 12:24 hours, suspect ran north across the Campus Drive Road. Suspect appeared to be carrying an item whose identity is not clear from the surveillance, so whether or not it was the weapon. The area to the north of Campus Drive Road where suspect crossed over consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark-colored towel. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices bulge OWO, what's this?" Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist, catch," an up arrow symbol, right arrow symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow." And a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO." Before we go any further.
So he planned this down to the T. I mean, he went as far as to engrave the shells. That's I mean, he was fully into this. That's crazy.
So Rich, this is quite consistent with not only what we heard from the press conference earlier today, but it is consistent with video footage that is circulated on social media. What is standing out to you about this so far?
Well, I've seen this video footage, as you say, it's been making the rounds, and he walks with a stiff gait, presumably because he has a rifle down his pants. He gets on top of the building, he takes the rifle out of his pants, and now he's able to walk more freely, and he crouches down and fires.
Oh, okay. So they were saying when they were saying he was walking stiffly, they had went to the beginning where the footage shows him walking up to the building before he shot Charlie Kirk. So I was wrong. I thought when they was referencing that, I thought they were saying he, the way he walked after jumping off the roof, I would assume he might have hurt himself. Okay.
And there are these casings. I'm not well versed enough to know what exactly those casings mean, what they're references to. I see that I've seen reports that they might have some connection to video games, but I don't know. But obviously they're of interest to the investigators. They have a lot of footage. And, we live in a world where if you're out walking around, you're on a campus, you're in a neighborhood, you're on film somewhere, you're on video somewhere, you can't go anywhere. And they've pieced all of that together to show this suspect getting on top of the building and apparently firing a rifle.
And the fact that so much of this is documented, how many times do we cover cases where there is no surveillance footage, let alone of the attack? We all saw the shooting. I mean, we all saw it, unfortunately. But to apparently track the shooter's movements, they talked about it in a press conference yesterday, but to actually have it detailed, that is, and we know that the footage we know that the image of this person of interest, the suspect, was released yesterday. That is very important for prosecutors.
Yeah. Well, and so listen, this is a very high profile, very horrible crime. This is an all hands on deck situation. They went door to door to get any possible video they can. We've seen cases where they investigate too late and the video is lost. So here they got it right away. You know, they were there the day of, the day after, going around the neighborhood, pulling together whatever video glimpses they could that might shed some light on the situation. And it paid off. They got pictures, they got video.
And they also they say investigators also discovered a shoe impression on the northeast corner rooftop edge of the Losi Center building. The shoe impression was located in the vicinity where suspect climbed down from the rooftop. The shoe impression is consistent with the shoe sole characteristics of a Converse Chuck Taylor shoe. They also talked yesterday about forearm impressions, palm prints. I believe that has been sent out for testing as well. They're probably looking to see if it matches up to Robinson. One thing to note here, and I was talking about this with Ellie Honig yesterday, this is before there was an arrest, legal liability. You know, one of the things you have to wonder is whether or not the university, and you are a civil trial attorney, whether the university faces any liability here. In the sidebar I did yesterday, there were concerns, there were questions of reports about maybe a lax in security. Were the tickets being checked? Was there a lack of actual, security detectors? This appeared to be on the outside, though, right? So on the rooftop. Does the school face any liability here, you think?
Well, potentially. This is going to be heavily scrutinized. Every facet of this is going to be heavily scrutinized to determine if anybody else is responsible, anybody else is involved, and anybody else is potentially at fault from should he have been noticed getting to campus, getting up on top of a building? Should somebody have seen that? Was there adequate security for an event that not only had a prominent speaker, but had hundreds of students and other people in attendance? Was there adequate security? I don't know the answers to any of those questions, but those questions are going to be asked.
And one of the things we talked about yesterday was not only a potential wrongful death or negligence lawsuit filed potentially by Charlie Kirk's family, but people around there who had to witness this very traumatic event. This is when we always talk about infliction of emotional distress. I want to move on to that, though. I want to go back to this. So it says on the evening of September 11th, 2025, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at UVU. Again, very consistent with what we heard from the press conference today. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th, early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with the surveillance images. Wow, Rich, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting and sort of, if it's true, surprising that he didn't change his clothes more quickly.
And then it says investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, 2025. And in conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed the roommate, who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon, Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages, I'm changing here, the content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact. Tyler stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope and the rifle being unique. Messages from the contact Tyler also mention that he had changed outfits. Based on the evidence detailed in this statement, I believe there is probable cause that Tyler Robinson committed the crimes of aggravated murder by shooting Charlie Kirk in a circumstance that put many around him at grave risk of death, felony discharge of a firearm, and obstruction of justice for moving and hiding the rifle believed to have been used in the shooting. Okay, first thing I want to go through here, Rich. Now you see why he's being charged with aggravated murder. There's an enhancement statute that's listed. They're basically saying that the reason that you can get this as, I believe, a capital offense, right, the highest offense in Utah, would be this was amounted to a danger to others in that crowd, even though there was only one shot fired at Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, I think that is why that's in there. And also it goes to the issue of bail. There might be other ways to enhance this in terms of the capital nature of the crime. I'd have to look at the particular statute at issue, but the fact that it seems to have been politically motivated might be pertinent as well. But yes.
And I think you also get the death penalty if you shoot the president's friend or somebody that's close enough to the president. I think you would know that you got the they're going to definitely go for the death penalty.
Firing essentially into a crowded event, very dangerous, and probably gets you enhanced.
And one of the things I talked about with Ellie yesterday was the idea of maybe potentially a terrorism charge. What was the purpose of this? Was it to silence other people? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I said political. If the facts are that the purpose of this was because of what Charlie Kirk had to say and an effort to silence people of that same viewpoint, then it could be viewed as a form of terrorism.
And this is similar to Mangione. One of the things, the way prosecutors have tried to enhance that charge is, even though he's accused of just shooting and killing Brian Thompson, it was an inherently dangerous activity that presented a risk to others. There was the nearby bystander. This was in the middle of a public street. So this is what it seems to be consistent.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about how this is similar to Mangione, and I've been thinking about.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, he shot a bullet over 2,000 people's heads, at this extremely crowded event. So yeah.
Out all of the people who support Mangione because they didn't like the person he allegedly shot. And I've been thinking that this is where that line of thinking.
That's so crazy though, to think that you could be sitting there doing what you always do. And I mean just that quick. Just sitting there. Like you just doing what you normally do. I don't think anybody could imagine that would happen.
It gets more people killed.
And are you also thinking about potentially jury nullification? If this advances towards formal charges and this advances towards a jury trial, whether or not it will be difficult to get a jury because of, unfortunately, I mean, just look at what we're seeing online right now about people kind of, I don't know what the word is, minimizing the idea that a human being was shot in cold blood.
Yeah, there's some of that online, but my thinking is you have a lot better chance of getting jury nullification where the victim was the CEO of an insurance company than where the victim was a young, famous advocate. Even though there are a lot of people who didn't like his advocacy, I find it hard to believe you would get a jury nullification in that case. I mean, I hope very much you don't, of course.
And when we talk about that, is basically a jury decides the case not based on the facts of the evidence, but their own personal opinions, their emotions. Yeah. And it does become a question of jury selection too, about how you get a fair and impartial jury. We are going a little down the road here because one of the things I just, this amplifies it too. And there's a couple more documents I want to get to, but it amplifies people stepped up, right? They reported this to police. You have an alleged confession. Not only are you talking about particularly important witnesses during this potential legal process, this trial, but if it wasn't for them, would he still potentially be on the loose, assuming he did this?
So we don't know. We don't know if the law enforcement effort would have honed in on him, because they did a video footage. They had some impressions. They might have over time been able to find him. But yes, a family member, and it sounds like there's a roommate who was helpful in the investigation. That at a minimum has allowed this to happen a lot quicker than it might have otherwise happened.
So we have a couple more documents here. One is an order that has been signed by Judge Sean R. Howell. It is an order to hold without bail based on the affirmation of Brian Davis, again, the arresting officer who I mentioned before. The undersigned magistrate finds that probable cause existed for the arrest without a warrant of Tyler James Robinson. The current offense is a capital felony, and the court finds substantial evidence to support the charge. Therefore, the court orders that Tyler James Robinson is to be held without bail. And just to couple that, there is a public safety assessment report. Kind of looks like this, okay? And it talks about how the charge of aggravated murder qualifies for what they say is PRL 5 in red. You go down, PRL 5 says, if statutory requirements are met, hold without bail. If released, maximum conditions recommended and or monetary bail. So they believe that this is serious enough that he should be held without bail.
Right. And I reviewed that assessment, and he has no priors, according to that, no prior convictions, criminal or misdemeanor. So really, there's nothing else that would have compelled holding him without bail except the seriousness of the crime. And if you're going to be accused of shooting somebody in a crowd in the fashion that happened here, you're going to get held without bail. There's no way he would have gotten bail.
Yeah, you're right.
If he were to get bail, that means bail should be automatic for everyone. If he got bail, I couldn't imagine. Can you imagine public outrage if he got bail? Ain't no way in hell.
It says risk factors: age of current arrest 22, current violent offense yes, current violent offense and 20 years old or younger no, pending charge at the time of the offense no, prior misdemeanor conviction no, prior felony conviction no, prior conviction no, prior violent offense 0, prior failure to appear in past 2 years 0, prior failure to appear older than 2 years no, prior sentence to incarceration no. You know, one of the things that's interesting about this is he is not the first criminal suspect to be charged with the most serious offense that we have on the books, right? And this is his first apparent crime. Isn't that always shocking to you? You know, we talk about it's not always, a graduation to murder or somebody has a criminal history. Sometimes when people commit a crime, it's the worst one yet.
It happens too often to be shocking to me anymore. There is no dependable way to know who's going to commit a crime like this. You can't base it on the number of times they've been in trouble with the law or their socioeconomic background or any of the specific traits or their race or their religion. There's nothing that would really tell you somebody would do something so heinous and so out of the norm of human behavior as this kind of crime.
Yeah, this is really interesting. Before we wrap things up, were you expecting an arrest this soon? I mean, it was very interesting when the press conference happened yesterday. I was surprised they had that much information about the suspected shooter, right? You know, they talked about the timeline, they talked about the surveillance footage, the palm prints, and then, there was some misinformation or confusing information about who was being apprehended and when, but I think it was a little over 30 hours that they were able to make an arrest.
I didn't know what to expect. And I'll tell you this, Jesse, this is the first public comments I've made about this situation. I haven't posted about it on media. I haven't been on YouTube or anywhere else about it, partly because I didn't feel like I had enough information to know what was happening. And I saw a lot of people speculating on who must have done this or why they must have done it or what type of person it must have been. And I found that to be absolutely outrageous. And I still don't have enough information to know for sure if this is the right person or why this crime was committed. But we do have a lot more information. So I had no expectation of when this person would be caught because I didn't know if it was somebody local. I didn't know if it was somebody foreign. I didn't know who it was.
I had a good feeling that they was going to catch the person fairly quickly. I know I did. I'm no expert, but I had a feeling that they were going to figure out who this was. I heard what people were saying before. I kind of I didn't think it was going to be what like I was talking to somebody. I was like sometimes like with these young kids and stuff, and sometimes they can be very radical. They hear things. I don't know if they know how to process certain things. Is not just about this kid. This is a very young man, but when you just look at these kids nowadays, they see things on social media. They take it very real. The type of conversations that Charlie Kirk was having, even older, more mature adults can't even handle these conversations. And then you take a young guy like this, I'm pretty sure more information is going to come out. I just wonder how he was processing things when he heard Charlie Kirk speak or debate. What drove him to committing this act? Like the guy said, he hasn't been convicted, he's not guilty, but just if in fact it is him, and it seems like it may be, if in fact it is him, what made him do it? I'm pretty sure if there were other signs that pointed to this, maybe they'll come out later once they talk to parents, people that he lived with, or his roommate. Maybe there were signs that people didn't think it would go any further, and it just did. So, this is sad though. Share screen. Boom, 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 boom. Righty then. All right. Now, who is Tyler Robinson? Robinson was a third-year student in an electrical apprenticeship program at Dixie Technical College. He had no prior criminal record and was described by neighbors as quiet and intelligent. His ACT score placed him in the top 1% nationally, and he briefly attended Utah State University. Okay, so he would have been familiar with the campus, I guess. His political views were described as increasingly radical. Bullet casings found at the scene included internet meme references and anti-fascist slogans. Discord messages allegedly showed plans to dispose of the rifle, though Discord disputes the platform was used.
Information we have from our content partners as we are learning the suspect in custody on this Friday in connection with the assassination of Charlie Kirk is a 22-year-old from Utah. Law enforcement officials confirming that to the Associated Press. Authorities identifying the suspect as Tyler Robinson. Now, a lot to discuss, and as we continue this thorough and detailed coverage, I want to transition and bring into the conversation none other than Tim Rebele. He previously worked for the Secret Service for 22 years on the Presidential Protective Detail. Tim, a pleasure having you join us here on Live Now from Fox. Hello to you.
Hello to you. Thanks for having me.
So a lot to discuss, Tim. Let's first go through the latest from that press conference. Viewers, some just might be tuning in. What do we know? We heard from FBI Director Kash Patel saying that it took the community. It was a group effort. If you see something, say something. 33 hours it took to get to this press conference.
Yeah, listening to the press conference and, following along from the time this incident happened, it was, like Kash Patel said, it was great police work. And you can't do this without the community. And you're so right. The see something, say something. It works every time. So it sounds like a great investigation from all partners, state, local, and federal.
We heard from Utah's governor, Spencer Cox, in that press conference saying that a suspect's family member actually turned him in. We're also hearing that he was joined alongside a family friend. Let's discuss that, because as the images were circulating, we had images from TMZ, we had images from the campus. We saw the suspected shooter climbing the side of the roof to get up there. There were so many people who were speculating who this person could be, many people not knowing that it would be a family member who would come out to turn this person in.
Yeah, so, a lot of these cases, just mass shooters in general, school shooters, or in this instance, most of these individuals, they have the term, we hear it all the time, the British leakage. I don't know, but I'd be safe to say, and they mentioned it briefly in the news conference, where there may have been some leakage in him talking about it and showing this hatred towards Mr. Kirk prior to actually committing the incident. And I'm glad that the family members helped turn him in after the fact, but I wish they were a little bit more proactive, and maybe this never would have happened.
As you say that you wish it never would have happened, some somber words from Utah's governor towards the end, and I want to quote him. For many people, it stuck out. He says, "Is this the end of a dark chapter or the beginning of a darker chapter in history? With your Secret Service expertise, unfortunately, this isn't the first type of tragedy you have covered, but so many viewers on the edge of their seats wondering, is this the end or the beginning of a darker chapter?" As Utah's governor so eloquently put it.
Yes, he brought up a couple good points, talking about the 60s, which were a little bit before my time as well, but, one of the most violent times as far as assassinations go. And with my experience, we've seen a lot of violent events, towards this country. But like you said, most importantly, we have a choice. We individually have a choice whether or not how we write this next chapter, and hopefully people take to heart exactly what he said and make that choice to turn to talking about differences and choosing towards nonviolence.
Tim, this morning, a lot of eyes are on the weapon, even the bullet. We are learning from authorities in that press conference that a bullet had the words "hey fascist" written on it. For many people, they are looking back to that tragedy that unfolded at Annunciation, a Catholic school and church, where we were learning that some of the magazines from that suspected gunman had words written on it, some of them political, some full of hatred. Paint the picture for us, please. Set the tone of what's going on in America today.
Yeah, and it's something that nobody really talks about, is how we are trained as Secret Service agents. And there's something called the pathway to violence. And everything starts with a grievance. And obviously, the shooting in Minnesota that you referenced, and the shooting that occurred in Utah on Wednesday, there was some sort of grievance. We just don't know what that grievance is right now. We could probably try to figure out obviously what that grievance is. But everybody goes from a grievance to an ideation to planning, research, probing, then execution. And the key is, as Secret Service, we were taught, is to get people off that pathway to violence. And that's what I'm talking about. These individuals show a grievance, and they're writing on the shell casings, and they're writing manifestos. We don't know exactly if this individual had a manifesto or not, but they're providing information prior to their acts or the execution of the violent act. And that's where we need to be better as a country. We need to see something, say something. As a friend, I don't know for certain, but there was probably some sort of leakage along his pathway to violence, where he had the grievance to the ideation, the planning, the research before he executed. I don't know, for instance, but I'd be safe to say that he probably researched that site prior to committing the act on Wednesday. He probably did a dry run. He drove. He found out where to park in the neighborhood. He just didn't do that, on a whim. So we all need to be better as Americans. And if something we hear doesn't sound right, we need to talk about it, and then obviously talk to the authorities, state, local, or federal.
Yeah, Tim, as you discuss a potential manifesto, we did learn in that press conference that the family is saying that the suspect became more, quote, political recently as it relates to the current climate, as it relates to MAGA, as it relates to, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Are you seeing more of that in your line of work for those people that might not agree with what's happening in America, so they think they can take what's going on into their own hands literally to potentially make a change, even if it turns deadly?
Yes, unfortunately, and the rhetoric on both sides, it justifies in people's mind that they could take a violent act to end whatever they may disagree with. So from the highest levels of this government, we all need to just put our differences aside and stop with this rhetoric. We can do it. You and I can do it. But I really hope, most importantly, our elected officials in and around the country can stop with this rhetoric on both sides, every part of the aisle, and we get back to some source of just humanity here, and so these people don't feel empowered to carry out these acts.
Tim, with your Secret Service experience, and I want you to detail it for us, for maybe the average person that might not understand what it takes to carry out safety and security, not only for the person that might be speaking at these type of political or school events, but also for those that are attending, in this case, students and faculty on the campus. So if we look back in time, we look back to the political season at that time, former President Donald Trump, we remember that tragic day where someone scaled a roof and then shot him in the ear, and so many people posing that question: how did this happen? How did Secret Service miss this? How did law enforcement not know to be on the roof already so that this doesn't happen? Months later, we are now in 2025, and we see the worst has happened to Charlie Kirk. It wasn't an ear. He lost his life. Are you seeing that strides are being made to make sure this doesn't happen again? Or are you seeing a stop point to where people are just assuming that it's already done? Maybe law enforcement, they aren't all on the same page. Paint that picture for us, please, because a lot of unanswered question as it relates to how did this happen in the first place?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So, I'm retired from the Secret Service, so I don't want to speak to what they're doing this at this time. But I know that they've learned from that horrible experience in Butler, Pennsylvania, and they're only going to be stronger moving forward. They've been around for 160 years, and for the next hundreds of years, they're going to be even stronger. But from a level of like an individual like Mr. Kirk, he is protected by typically retired federal agents or local law enforcement. But what needs to happen is the holistic approach of a good security advance, and that starts with threat intelligence. And an individual like Mr. Kirk, you conduct an open source threat intelligence summary, and you can tell that the threat is high. Then that dictates how you approach these sites. And we're looking at some footage here of Utah Valley University, and you need to conduct a site assessment. And I've never been there, but there's high ground everywhere. You spend some time, a day, a week prior, and you create that site assessment. Then you create an advanced document for the actual visit. And everything we've been told is they had 6 security officers from the university there. Then obviously Mr. Kirk had his own detail. But for that magnitude of that crowd and the high ground exposure and a lot of the vulnerabilities there, the proper techniques weren't put in place, in my opinion, based on what I've heard, to mitigate that threat. And it just goes back to being proactive and doing the work before the event actually occurs.
Tim, thank you so much for that detailed breakdown. We are getting new images just into live now from Fox. We finally have that side-by-side booking photo. As mentioned in that press conference, the suspect on your screen identified as 22-year-old from Utah, Tyler Robinson. He has been booked into the Utah County Jail. What's next, Tim? Obviously, many people thinking he will not be able to get any type of bond. He will remain there until that first court appearance.
Yeah, I mean, everything it sounds like, especially with the director of the FBI being there, typically a murder case would be held, or prosecuted by the state prosecutors, but I would imagine they're going to come with some federal charges as well, and I'm sure he'll see the full weight of the Department of Justice coming his way, sooner than later.
Tim, we appreciate your thorough breakdown and your perspective as we continue to learn more. Obviously, you did mention a lot of questions about a potential manifesto. So obviously, even though we did hear this press conference from the FBI director, Utah governor, other law enforcement agencies, this is not the end. Honestly, it's the beginning of what we will further know in the coming days and maybe even months. For those that are wanting to know what's next, for those that are wanting to know where do we go from here, could you provide any final words to the viewers?
Yes, we have to be patient as citizens. We live in this environment now where we get everything instantly. Let's let the judicial process, play out. And this is exactly. I never met Mr. Kirk, but everything he talked about, from my perspective as well. Let the Constitution work. Let this individual have his due process, and let the investigation continue. And then let like I mentioned previously, let the full weight of the Department of Justice come at him, and I'm sure he will get what he deserves.
Tim Rebele, again, thank you so much for being so patient. You literally stayed on the feed as we both listened in real time with the viewers as that press conference unfolded. It was initially slated to start at 9 o'clock this morning Eastern time, then AP pushing it back to 9:30. Then it finally start around 10:05 Eastern time. But as you are well aware with your line of work, law enforcement agencies having to all get on the same page as information is relayed to the media. Again, thank you so much for your thorough breakdown. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's shooting.
Yo, now let's get into the fallout and reflection. Now, since the assassination of Charlie Kirk has reignited debates about political violence, free speech, and online radicalization. Multiple individuals were fired or suspended for mocking Kirk's death online. Universities issued statements condemning political violence. The FBI continues to investigate Robinson's motives. His trial is expected to begin later this year, and prosecutors may pursue the death penalty, which we know they are. But I went and I had to look this up. I had to look up a video. I'm like, so people have been fired for mocking his death. I don't know why that shocked me though when I first heard about it. Because I mean, when you think about it, people be online getting downright crazy, and we've certainly seen people lose their job for being what people would call Karens on the internet, or what people would call racist on the internet. But it shouldn't have shocked me when I heard about it. I'm gonna get this up here. Share screen. There we go. Woo.
Since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the internet has shown its dark side.
I think the only thing that went wrong that day was that Trump wasn't standing behind him getting a secondhand bullet.
But Retribution in the form of public firing seems to be coming swiftly. Libs of TikTok has become a steady stream of calling out those who are celebrating the death of the conservative activists, from a DA in Montana to college professors, Democratic candidates, and lots of teachers.
The guy who made a living spewing evil, hate-filled rhetoric died from getting shot right in the voice box. I might be 1% less atheist today.
But it's not just libs of TikTok. Virginia Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears has called for the Dean of Students of Chesterfield County Public Schools to be fired for saying, quote, "Charlie Kirk, you reap what you sow." The Republican candidate for governor saying, "This vile, heartless remark is completely unacceptable, especially from someone entrusted with our children." Also in Virginia, a realtor posted, "The world is a better place with less Trump supporters, period." She was swiftly fired from not one, but 2 jobs. Dustin Fox of Fox Homes Teams writing, "Today, we ended a team member's affiliation with our team. We condemn political violence. We expect everyone who markets under our brand to treat all people with dignity and to serve every client equally, regardless of political views." Samson Properties wrote, "A realtor affiliated with S&P made a social media post that condoned the assassination of Charlie Kirk. At Samson Properties, we firmly believe in free speech and the respectful exchange of ideas across the political spectrum. However, we cannot and will not condone or tolerate the promotion of violence in any form against any person." Then there's one teacher in Florida saying, "This is not the obituary she was hoping for, but it's a close second." Florida State Senator Jennifer Bradley announcing, "This teacher has been immediately suspended. An investigation will follow. This type of hate has no place in our schools and around our children." There were actually so many teachers in Florida celebrating Kirk's death, the Commissioner of Education had to release a letter saying he's conducting an investigation into every educator who made despicable comments on social media regarding the horrific assassination of Charlie Kirk.
You know what's so crazy about this? You would think that as a professional, you should know that you would not be allowed, because you have certain professions that they can't be on the internet at all, right? And people would have to know you cannot get on the internet and celebrate. I mean, not just this person. I mean, anybody's death. I mean, if you were reported, even if this was just some person that wasn't popular, but you would have to know that you could not do this. This is insane. And these are professional people with, in professional careers. They would have to know that, right? That you can't get on the internet and just say stuff like this. I mean, unless they just don't care about their job, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. And why celebrate somebody's death anyway? I mean, even if you don't like somebody, I mean, to celebrate somebody's death, I think that's that's just too much. Especially if it's just somebody you just disagree with what they said. Not that they did anything to you personally. They just said something on a video you've seen while they were debating. And you as a professional think that you can get on the internet and do this stuff. You just must not care about working at all. And I mean, oh my goodness, this is something I think that would follow you, right? I think whoever fires you would make it a point to make sure that the next place you go to try to get a job, they know exactly why you were fired at the last job.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis responding, "It is sad that we've seen a number of teachers across America celebrate Charlie Kirk's murder." After South Carolina Representative Nancy Mace found out a Greenville teacher said, "America became greater today." Due to Kirk's death, the Republican called the superintendent, calling for the teacher to be fired. Less than 2 hours later, she updates on X the teacher has been placed on leave and writes in the comments she agrees with people who says he needs to be fired.
And you know it's so crazy. The fact that it's so many teachers doing this, um, it really pushes the movement forward because for a lot of would you say the conservatives or like Republican people they say on the right, because I often watch a lot of these debates, and when they go around and talk to college kids, one of the things that they say is that the reason they do it is because um it seems that um like when they say like when they talk about college, they say like, oh, you know, it's liberal, they only allow a certain type of thought to be on these college campuses. And so what a lot of these speakers say is that, hey, we have to visit these schools because they only push one form of thought, and if we don't come down there and give these children another form of thought, they don't really have any option to really choose from. And this all these teachers behaving this way and doing this kind of solidifies what they've been saying this whole time, that these teachers are all kind of on this one thought, and this is what, you know, they're teaching this to the students. And so we don't come down there and debate and spread our message, the kids will never hear it because the schools seem to be biased. And when you have just a wave of teachers that would get on the internet and celebrate something like this, it to me it kind of paints a picture that, like, wow, you're proving the point when they say, hey, we have to come down there and spread our message. This is crazy.
Colorado Representative Lauren Boebert wrote, I'm utterly heartbroken and disgusted when she learned a suicide prevention coordinator for Colorado Department of Health described Kirk as a pro-violence dude and a white man who spews horrible stuff. Even internet games are reenacting the shooting and holding virtual parties celebrating Kirk's death. Representative Anna Paulina Luna has contacted the FCC and the Apple App Store to try and take down any references to the assassination of Kirk on the platform Roblox. The Florida Republican has also called for social media companies to take down the videos capturing the moments he was shot. While there's definitely a debate on whether or not the graphic videos of Kirk's death should be shown, those rejoicing in his death are receiving rapid retribution. Shortly after the targeted political assassination of a man who focused all his power on debating college kids, investigators condemned those celebrating his death.
If anyone in the sound of my voice celebrated even a little bit at the news of this shooting, I would beg you to look in the mirror and to see if you can find a better angel in there somewhere.
And while people are saying the rise in political temperatures caused this tragedy, and others are calling for dialing down the rhetoric, social media seems to want someone to pay. I'm Amy Delora for Washington Examiner.
I'm really shocked at the professionals. Some of the people on the internet, they can be young, immature kids and stuff like that. Maybe, but I would not. I would not think that. I just would not think that these professionals would be behaving and acting this way. That is so it's nuts to me. Like, what the hell? That's crazy. And that's why all this stuff is getting out of line. Between, you got these the people that are upset and angry and mourning Charlie Kirk, and then you got the people that's online, making fun, of what happened, celebrating. It's making it worse. It's just so much violence, man. Thank God that they caught the shooter quickly, and hopefully it don't take too long to resolve this issue, and hopefully people are able to get closure. I'm trying to look up this other video real quick. Because things are getting out of hand. I wanted to look up. What's that? Because it's getting so they were saying there's some threats, against HBCUs and stuff like that. And I was wondering, I'm gonna play the video because I haven't watched it, but someone was saying acting like the violence is just spilling over and stuff. And that's why I was saying, like, I hope this case gets resolved quickly, man, and people can begin the healing.
We continue to follow a number of stories right here on Live Now from Fox. And I did want to transition to some breaking news into our studio as 5 historically Black colleges and universities are now on alert after receiving threats. And I did want to share what each of these universities and colleges are sharing with the public right here. This is a social media post from Hampton University stating that the university has received notice of a potential threat and has ceased all non-essential activity effective immediately. They say the safety and well-being of our students, faculty, staff, and visitors remain our highest priority. All campus activities and classes are canceled today and tomorrow to include all athletic events and activities, and campus community is encouraged to conduct any meetings and remotely. So we are continuing to follow this. We also have a number of other tweets that I did want to share with you. This from Southern University and AMM College stating that this university also has received a potential threat to campus safety and is on lockdown. They say that the lockdown applies to the entire Baton Rouge landmass, which also includes Southern University Law Center, Agriculture Research and Extension Center, and the laboratory school. They say if you are on campus, you should shelter in place until further notice, as the university is working with law enforcement agencies. We also have a number of other posts that we want to get to. This is from Alabama State University, as it has now canceled campus activities today, stating that the campus will be closed for the remainder of the day. Campus police, along with other law enforcement agencies, are actively clearing all buildings on campus. Once your building has been cleared, it says you will be permitted to leave only through the front entrance of your building. They say this is for your safety right there. So we are continuing to follow a number of other ones, including Virginia State University, stating that this university has received a threat to campus out of an abundance of caution. VSU rather remains on lockdown. Please continue to check for updates. And this final one that I did want to bring in, this is from Bethune-Cookman University, stating that due to a potential threat to campus safety, as a precaution, the university is currently on lockdown. All classes have been canceled. Students should return to their dorm rooms and shelter in place. All faculty and staff should head home, and those not on campus should plan to work remotely. Safety, they say, is our first priority, and we will continue to provide updates. So that is the very latest as we continue to follow all of these developments right here. We are working to gather more information just in terms of what these potential threats are, but out of abundance of caution, 5 different HBCUs are on alert after threats. This is a live look right here from Daytona. This is the area where Bethune-Cookman University is and now is currently on lockdown. So we did want to share the very latest with you, as 5 HBCUs are on alert after threats, many of them on lockdown, also canceling classes for today. And also we saw at least one of them canceling classes tomorrow as well, out of an abundance of caution. We are continuing to follow all of the very latest, and if we, of course, will bring any additional info.
Yeah. Well, they didn't give too much information, but some people are suggesting that it's because of everything that's going on with Charlie Kirk. People making fun online, is just violence and just internet wars are now, especially like I don't even know how the whole black versus white thing started because of this. I know for a fact most black people don't even know who Charlie Kirk was. But this happens, the story gets out, and I think when most people ask, well, hey, who is Charlie Kirk? And people probably say, oh, he's a racist white guy, which was said. It wasn't said. Like in one of the videos we watched tonight, remember somebody said, I'm having a brain freeze. Somebody said something where this is what people would say about him. And so I think to people, just as a black person and the conversations that I've had, like in spaces and stuff, they don't even know about this guy. I never heard of him, but when the death happened and people look up information to find out about this person, they'll just tell these group of people, well, he was a racist white guy, which makes people in return go, well, whatever, he's racist, so they act indifferent to it, which people who care about him, they hear it, which of course it offends them. And now you have these two people fighting. That's just my theory, how I think it starts. But I know most black people, I doubt would even know who Charlie Kirk is, or be aware of him. And if they did see him or heard anything that he said, it'd probably be like a snippet that somebody played for them, which of course they would, without listening to what he said fully. And it's not to defend anything he says. There's a lot of things he said that I was in disagreement about. And I always kind of thought to myself, I was like, you know what? I wonder if I have the courage one day to go like to one of these debates and be one of those people that get in line, get on the mic and debate this person. And if I could win, of course I would prepare like hell. I'm not nowhere near the public speaker of some of these guys, which are heavy hitters in that field. But anywho, I was just saying that I think that's how the whole black and white thing started. I think it's like an internet thing where people are tweeting, who's Charlie Kirk, or people say this is Charlie Kirk, this is what he said. And then you have people of color and from other backgrounds that, of course they're going to hear those things, and having never maybe heard a whole speech, they're probably just gonna go, well, whatever, I don't care. He's just another racist guy. And boom, that quickly somebody who likes him and is a fan of him hears that, they tweet them back or message them back, and now they're fighting and stuff. And then that blows up on the internet, and boom, there goes a race war again. So I'm about to get up out of here. And I'm going to give my final thoughts. The cost of silence is what I'm calling my final thoughts. Now, Charlie Kirk's death is a sobering reminder that words, however controversial, should never be met with violence. Civil discourse is the bedrock of democracy. We must protect the right to speak, to challenge, and to disagree. Because the person you hate today might be someone else's hero. The same way people hated Martin Luther King, but that was our hero. And the conversation you shut down could have been the one that changed your mind. You can misjudge someone, argue, and come back tomorrow to make it right. But you cannot do that with a life lost. Let's talk more. Let's listen better. Let's never let ideology justify violence. With that being said, I hope you all be blessed. I pray everybody be okay. And I hope that I hope the violence will stop, honestly. We're people with brains. We can think, we can talk, we can comprehend. So there's really no reason for us to hurt each other. I don't care what side of the argument you're on, to be honest with you. I think if people come to the table and learn how to talk to each other instead of hate each other and want to hurt each other, I think things would be better. So I am out of here. This is Risky Behavior. I am your humble host, Mr. Diabolical, and I will catch you later. Get in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to thumbs up the video and subscribe for more content.
Risky behavior.